Hey there, CJ Math students, and welcome to Notes R.2. You can tell it right here in the upper right-hand corner. And this is also Ed Puzzle. So a couple rules about this. Whatever I write down on my paper, I don't care if it's a star, I don't care if I show work, whatever it is, you write down. And then also, whenever you encounter a question, don't guess. It's part of a grade. So if you're like, I didn't hear what Mr. Mason said, or I didn't really get that one, rewind, rewatch, and then try it before you guess, okay? Any problems I don't do on Ed Puzzle, you are also responsible for finishing on your paper, right? So today we're learning about operations with decimals, adding, subtracting, and multiplying. So here are the top 10 Xbox 360 games of all time, showing the number of each game that has been sold. So we got Grand Theft Auto all the way to Grand Theft Auto 4. I put in Goat Simulator there as well, and then these are the copies sold in millions, right? So I was a big Xbox 360 person, never got the Ring of Death when I was growing up, but let's go ahead and see if we can apply this stuff to adding and subtracting decimals. So a couple rules, very easy. Number one, first thing you're always going to do is line them up, all right? Going with a little phrasing here, see if you guys can't remember it. So the place value matters, so always line up the numbers on the decimals. Second thing, drop it down. You're going to drop down the decimal into your answer, exactly where it was. And then finally, fill them in. Any spaces that you have after you line up your numbers, you should fill in with zeros. So for instance, it says find the sum of Call of Duty games sold. So if you go back up here, you're going to say, okay, Call of Duty Black Ops 12, Call of Duty Modern Warfare 7.56. So you're going to line those up by the decimal. So you notice that 12 doesn't have a decimal, so you're going to want to line up by place value. So I'm going to put 12 here, and then place value decimal 0, 0, right? And then I'm going to add 7.56. The 7's in the one spot, so it goes right under the one spot, decimal 5, 6. So you notice how I lined them up. I'm going to drop down my decimal in my answer right there, right? And then I filled in the zeros. So now it's just all about adding, right? So we get 6, 5, 9, 1. So it's 19.56 million copies. I'm just going to put MIL for million, all right? Number two, it says find the difference between Black Ops. So finding the sum, right, was all about adding. Finding the difference, if you recall, if you look at your chart at the back of the room, it's going to be about subtracting. So Black Ops and Modern Warfare. We already know Black Ops, remember, was 12, so we're going to set it up just like we did the last one, but we're going to say minus 7.56. Again, the decimals are lined up. I filled in any empty spaces with zeros. Before I do anything, I'm going to drop my decimal down in my answer, and I'm going to go to work. So obviously, we cannot subtract 0 minus 6 or 0 minus 5 or even 2 minus 7. We're going to have to borrow, and we're going to have to borrow a lot. So this becomes a 12, which we borrow and make it 11. This becomes 10, which we borrow 1, make it 9, and this becomes 10. So now we can go ahead and subtract. We're going to get 10 minus 6, 4, 9 minus 5, 4, 11 minus 7, 4. So the difference between Black Ops and Modern Warfare is about 4.44 million copies sold, right? All right, let's do a couple more. It says find the sum of GTA games sold. So Grand Theft Auto 5 was 24 million. Grand Theft Auto 4 was 44.36 million. And so I'm going to go ahead and line it up. You're going to go ahead and solve this in Ed Puzzle. So I like to count my spaces. I always try to put the numbers in. I might have to do some erasing if I miss a space or something like that. But putting in these grid boxes is very important. So I'll line that up, and then we're going to go ahead and answer that. So obviously 6, 3, 8, and 2. So 28.36 million copies sold of Grand Theft Auto. Next one, again, that was sum. So this one is find the difference between GTA 5 and GTA 4. So again, same setup, right? So we got 24 million. And then this time subtracted 4.36 million. Again, we can't do the, let me put my decimal there. We can't do 0 minus 6, 0 minus 3. I can do 4 minus 4, but let's borrow first. So this becomes a 1. This becomes 14, which then we're going to borrow from, which is 13. This is 10, which we borrow from, which is 9. And then this is 10. So we get 4. 9 minus 3 is 6. 13 minus 4 is 9. And then 1 minus nothing is 1. So the difference between the two, GTA 5 sold 19.64 million more copies than GTA 4. So obviously a much more successful game. All right, last two. It says, which franchise sold more games, Call of Duty or Halo? So if we look at the Call of Duty numbers up at the top, Call of Duty was 12 million plus 7.56 million. And then Halo, if you take a look at your numbers up here, we've got Halo 3, 14.5, and Halo Reach, 4.7. So line those up. 14.5 plus 4.7. And notice how I have this extra space there. No big deal. If you wanted to fill them in zeros, you could, but you don't have to. So do that addition and then tell me the answer, which one sold more. All right? And then the last one, how many more copies of the original Gears of War were sold than the Gears of War 2? So how many more, again, if you look at the back there, how many more, I mean subtraction, right? So the original Gears of War, if we go up to the top, sold 5 million copies right there, and then the next one sold 4.983 million. So we're going to have to line this up again, 5 million right there, and then 4.983 million. Notice when a whole number doesn't have a decimal, it happens right at the end of the number. So I fill in all these empty spaces with zeros, and then I go ahead and subtract, and notice I'm going to have to do a lot of borrowing here in order to get this answer, right? So 5 becomes a 4, this becomes a 10, then it becomes a 9, this becomes a 10, then it becomes a 9, and this becomes a 10, and now I can do my subtraction. Answer that in Edpuzzle, and that is the end of part 1.